Once upon a time, there was a poor woodcutter who lived on the edge of a village. He had one horse that he used to cut wood and earn money, and one day the horse ran away. So the next day, the man went to the village to complain about his loss to his neighbors. "Oh, my God," said the neighbors, "that is a terrible tragedy. A horse is such an important thing for you. How will you now cut wood and feed your family? You are doomed." But the woodcutter's father, who was much wiser than him, simply told him, "Don't worry, son. This might actually turn out to be a blessing in disguise." A week later, the woodcutter went back to the village to tell his neighbors about his surprise. When he got there, they were all gathered together discussing how lucky they were that they weren't him. "What happened?" asked the woodcutter. "Why are you talking about luck? We heard that your horse returned," said one of the villagers. "We were just discussing how lucky we are that it was us who lost the horse and whose house burned down last night." The woodcutter was confused. "What do you mean by that?" he asked. It turned out that during the night, the horse had returned. It had brought 7 other horses with it, each more beautiful than the last. They must have belonged to a rich nobleman because the woodcutter didn't know what to do with them. He took them to the nearest stable, but that couldn't hold so many animals. So he had to take most of them to his neighbor's stables. "What should I do?" he asked his father. "These horses are too much for me to handle. I don't know what to do with them." "Don't worry, son," replied the old man. "Everything will work out. Just keep your head clear and don't let pride get to you." From that moment on, the woodcutter became a rich man. He sold the horses for a lot of money and built a beautiful house. He even bought a second horse, just like his first one, which he used to go to the fields every day to cut wood. One day, the woodcutter's son wanted to go with him, so he did. But when they arrived at the stable, the boy saw the other horse and asked, "Can I ride that horse too?" "Of course," replied his father. "Why not? It's just an old horse. If you want to ride it, go ahead." The boy quickly mounted the horse, but it reared up suddenly and threw him off, breaking his leg. The boy started crying, and the woodcutter immediately rushed him back home. The next day, he went to the village to see his neighbors, who said, "Oh, I'm so sorry, friend. I never thought anything good could come from those cursed horses. I told you not to accept them, but you wouldn't listen. And now look what happened to your son." The woodcutter's father stopped them. "Hey, don't say such things. What you say can be very hurtful. Who knows? Maybe this will end up being a blessing in disguise for him too." After hearing these words, the neighbors left, but only after giving the woodcutter a long lecture about how dangerous it was to accept other people's gifts. That's when the old man told his son, "You see, you can't always trust appearances. Sometimes what looks like a good thing ends up being bad, and what seems like a curse turns out to be a blessing. For example, when you lost your horse, everyone said it was a tragedy, but in reality, it led to you having 8 beautiful horses, which made you rich. Then they started saying that those horses were cursed because they brought misfortune. But if that was true, then why was I able to break my leg on the same horse without any problems? It's just an old horse. It probably tripped because it hadn't been ridden in a long time. In fact, that was a good thing that happened to me. If I hadn't broken my leg, I wouldn't have been able to stay home for months and spend time with my family. Now I realize how precious they are and how happy I am to have them in my life." Everything in life is uncertain, so don't think that something bad will definitely happen. Just be thankful for everything you have. After thinking about his father's words, the woodcutter understood that they were right. Life is unpredictable. You can't control what happens to you. So, you shouldn't rely on luck. Instead, you should just be grateful for everything. After spending a few weeks recovering at home, the boy went out into the field to play with his friends. Soon he forgot about his pain and became a happy child again. When they heard this story, the villagers felt ashamed for judging the woodcutter and his family. They invited them for dinner and apologized for speaking so rudely about his son. "How could we have known? You are right. "We were wrong," said the neighbor. "Your son is so brave. Even though he broke his leg, he still has such a positive attitude." Everyone praised the boy, and he blushed, embarrassed by all the attention. His father smiled and said, "You see, my son's story could have been worse. If he had broken his leg on one of those expensive horses, the whole village would have been gossiping about it for weeks. But since it happened on an ordinary horse, nobody noticed. That's why it's important not to judge people. You never know what they're going through. And sometimes it's better to keep your mouth shut. Otherwise, you might end up regretting it." The villagers nodded, realizing that the old man was right. Then the boy's mother gave him a piece of advice. "My dear son, whenever something bad happens, remember that it can also bring good things. And when something good happens, remember that it can also bring bad things. We can't always know what's going to happen, so it's best not to jump to conclusions. The most important thing is to try to make the best out of every situation." After hearing her words, the boy realized that she was right. That's why instead of being sad about breaking his leg, he tried to focus on the positive aspects of his life, like having such caring parents and friends who always make him laugh. As they all enjoyed their meal together, the villagers continued chatting and drinking. Soon enough, it was time for the woodcutter and his family to go home. When they stepped outside, the old man looked up at the sky and said, "Well, it looks like we're in for some rain. Let's hurry up and get home before we get soaked." Suddenly, the clouds opened up and lightning struck the tree next to them. Everyone screamed and ran away as fast as they could. But unfortunately, the old man was struck by lightning and fell to the ground. He was taken to the hospital where the doctor said he wouldn't survive. His family stood by his bedside waiting for him to wake up. "Dad, please wake up," cried the young man. "I'm scared. What if he doesn't make it?" "Don't worry, son," said his mother, holding back tears. "Your father is strong. He will pull through this." But when the sun rose the next morning, the old man passed away. His son was devastated. He threw himself on his father's body and shouted, "No, Dad, please don't leave me. I need you." The young man's mother hugged him tightly and whispered, "Shh, calm down. I know it hurts, but you have to be strong. Your father wouldn't want you to be sad. Remember what he taught you. No matter what happens in life, you should always try to see the good side of things." Hearing these words, the young man felt a little better. He knew his father was right. Crying wouldn't bring him back, so there was no point in doing it. Instead, he decided to honor his memory by living a good life. From that day on, the young man never forgot his father's teachings. Whenever he faced difficulties, he remembered that they could also bring him good fortune. And whenever he experienced happiness, he knew it could turn into sorrow. So he tried his best not to rely on luck and always appreciated what he had. If you like this story, give it a thumbs up and share it with your friends. Also, don't forget to subscribe so you don't miss out on any new stories.